Everybody dance with me. Come on, Trevor, I want to see those
Welcome to
moves.
Read My Lips Radio,
James,
a
wow.
lively hour of unscripted conversations with savvy creatives. Producer and host, akaRadioRed, asks novelists, artists, photographers, designers, comedians, actors, musicians, composers, screenwriters, directors, and technology innovators about their creative passion, inspirational muses, and how they create. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's akaRadioRed.
Thank you to the wonderful voice who introduces me. Radio Red in the house. It's Monday. Where else would I be? I have a very interesting group for you today. I've never met any of them. These are not from the Publicity Summit. These people come to me through the good graces of Creative Edge PR, Mickey Mickelson. Mickey, if you're listening, we're all doing a shout out and a hello and wave and all that good stuff. We're going to talk about creativity, our own unique creativity, our shared creativity. We might have some surprises along the way, but I didn't tell my guests that we have to do a little bit of something at the beginning of the show every week. If you haven't heard it, I want you all to make the shape of the letter L with either hand, whatever you're using there. And on the count of three, and I know you can do this, you're going to join me in saying hello, L, 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 just like that. 1, 2, 3. Hello, L, L. Jordan, they broke the record. That was one of the best, I'm talking to my engineer, best in sync LLLs. Unbelievable. You're tied for number one, but I think you're in the lead, okay? LLL is a lady named Lovely Lanky Laura Legs. She's tall, she has great legs, and I met her at a dance class years ago. We've stayed friends for years. She's on Long Island, and I've tried to get her to move to a place like Lexington, Kentucky, or Louisiana, or any place with an L, so it'll be LLLL. She is our most loyal listener. She hasn't been feeling well, but at 6:01 p.m. Eastern tonight, if she's online, she will send me, Trevor, a little book report, and she'll say, this is what James said. This is what Kim said. This is what Trevor said. And she takes notes while she listens. And I've known her for many years. And my mom in her 90s used to do that before she passed. And cousin Freddie in California, also in his 90s, used to listen and email me. So we'll get the book report after. So Lovely Lanky Laura Legs, our most loyal listener, and I hope you're feeling better. Today is March 24th. Where is the year going? I don't know. It seemed like New Year's Eve 12 seconds ago, and now we're looking at the end of the first quarter of the year. If you're keeping track, it's the 83rd day of the 2025 Gregorian calendar. It used to be the Julian calendar, but he had a little problem, Kim. He forgot a couple of days in October. So if you had a birthday on the 3rd and the 14th, you didn't get to celebrate because they were missing. Gregorian came along and he said, I may be a pope, but I want to be very creative. So, right, James knows what I'm talking about. So he went and redid the calendar and he said, we will have a leap year every fourth year and we will add a day. And he caught up so all the October people like me get to have their birthdays. It's the 12th Monday of the year. Nobody cares about that except me. And 282 days remain and it is spring. Woohoo! Okay, here we are. So I have an opening intro that I think that's redundant. For all of you, I'm going to give you a little bit of a gift. And when I call your name, I want you to wave hello because everybody is watching you. Okay, here we go. Welcome to Read My Lips, where akaRadioRed shines bright, bringing cool conversations with creatives for your delight. In her Scarlet Mike's live streaming, am I glowing? I don't know, James, am I glowing? She opens the door for creative sparks to ignite and inspiration to soar. Here we go. With books in hand, young James Bow took flight through pages filled with worlds so bright. A love for stories, sci-fi dreams, fan fiction first, then crafted themes. Urban plans gave way to prose, where fantasy and fiction both arose. Then fanzines, small to novels grand, James's tales now reach a wider land. James, what'd you think?
That's brilliant.
I'll take brilliant. I haven't heard that before. Thank you very much. Kim, you're up next. Kim Lengling's journey sparked with a tale so true. A veteran's vow, her story grew. Her step-grandfather's last man's toast, a bond held tight, she gave it words and shared its light. Through faith and pets, Kim's heart remains a voice for healing through life's pains. For veterans strong, she writes with grace, bringing hope to time and place. I'll take it.
Bringing tears to my eyes on that.
I know.
That. Yeah,
Trevor?
I'm liking that. Thank you.
Good. Trevor Harrison roamed with a poet's gaze through journeys wide and scholars' days, from Europe's roads to Candide's page. His words reflect a life engaged. Through history's lens, Trevor found his way. Then stories grew both night and day. Retirement called, his pen was set free to shape the past for all to see. Trevor, what do you think?
Wow, that was amazing. I'm going to get you to write on the back covers of my next books for
I'd
sure.
be I'd be happy to. Let me finish the opening. So gather round, lend us your eye and your ear as we dive into creativity with our vision clear. AKA Radio Red's roundtable is set today. We hope to inspire you to live large, love life, and play. We get a good okay. Everybody happy with that? I will tell you, you want to know the method how I do it? It's full transparency here. I have at least a 300 word bio origin story from each of you, and I put it together and I send it to my virtual assistant, and she's French, and her name is Sylvie. Used to be Sylvia, but we speak in French all the time, so I decided to call her Sylvie with an E. James, it's very authentic. We send each other bisous, bisous, that's kisses, and we call each other cher ami and all that good stuff. She comes back with, I'll say, I need an 8 line stanza for each guest that rhymes with the highlights of the origin story bio. And she comes back to me with the draft. Then I put it into a document and I compare it to your bios. And sometimes I say, didn't hit the high marks on this person's bio. I'm not happy with it. I will either go back to Sylvie and ask her to tell her what she missed, or I will just update it. I do a lot of poetry as well, and I'll fix the rhyme. So it's a collaboration. So she's my VA, and I just wanted you all to know. So you can thank Sylvie as well. Merci, Sylvie. Merci.
Merci,
Merci
Sylvie.
beaucoup.
Her French is lovelier, and her spelling is unbelievable. It's impeccable. It's unbelievable. So let's talk about, did we miss anything? Of course we did, Red. You can't squeeze a whole lifetime into 8 lines. What are you? I'm sorry, that's another voice. James Bowe, I'm going to put you on speaker view. Take a couple minutes. Tell us, is there anything else you'd like us to know about you? And officially welcome to Cool Conversations with Creatives. James, go ahead.
Well, I think Mickey wants me to tell you for sure that I'm currently promoting my latest science fiction novel, The Sunrunners, which is set on the planet Mercury, and a companion anthology written by myself and 10 other authors called Tales from the Silence. And I have another book coming out in May, also from Shadowpaw Press, called The Night Girl. It's a reissue of a urban fantasy that I published it back in 2019. It's about a young woman who goes to the big city looking for work and finds it as the admin assistant for an employment agency that finds work for goblins and trolls. You can say her boss is a real troll, but actually, no, he's a goblin, and that's okay.
How many hours a day do you write, James?
I don't think all the time, either all the time or none of the time. I mean,
Um,
I've been fortunate to have a day job which requires me to do writing as well. Things like press releases and newsletters and reaching out to our supporters and stuff like that. Uh, and so getting a chance to sit down and write fiction is a real treat for me.
Mm.
So I've recently been able to spend a little time writing, adding a new draft of a companion novel called The Cloud Riders. So it was, um, there are periods where I'm not able to do that, and that wears at you. But I've had a bit of a creative burst, and that always feels good.
Good. I'm glad. When you don't feel that creative burst and you have other things that take precedent in your life, do you feel like you're being deprived of that excitement of the next part? Is something brewing in your brain, James, where you know when you go back, you'll be doing the next chapter or the next character? Is there something brewing there?
There's always something brewing. One of my pieces of advice is have more than one story sort of building, because if something stalls out, you can always switch. I've
Mm.
done that for most of my fiction writing life, and I find that that does help. But yeah, life is a bit too complicated right now to count on dedicated time for things.
Yep.
My kids I need to take care of. I've got dinner to make,
Oh,
and
please do.
Yeah.
And we'll be over after the show. James, thank you. Thank you for answering my question.
Yeah.
I don't know. You'll tell us
What's on
later.
the menu for tonight?
That's my question, Trevor. What are we eating?
Well,
Okay.
actually, this time around, I said to my wife Erin, it's like, okay, I'm actually going to be here during the dinner hour. It's you've got to figure out how to feed the kids this time. Yeah,
Okay.
yesterday we had spaghetti with meat sauce. So,
Nice.
yes.
Okay. And maybe leftovers today, but we'll get some menu suggestions from you later. James, so happy to have you here. Thank you for
Thank
joining
you very
us.
much.
Let's go around the table. Kim, you're up next. I'm putting you on speaker view. Fill in the blanks for me. What did I miss?
Fill in the blanks. Well, I am a veteran, as you had mentioned. I'm a veteran of the Air Force. I am an advocate for veterans and have been for well over 25 years now. I do a lot volunteering in my spare time, helping veterans, especially female veterans who have went through sexual assault. And I that currently live with PTSD. So my heart goes to them, and that's part of my passion is helping advocate for veterans. Also send out monthly care packages for the past 25 years to all of those men and women from the United States that are currently deployed all around the globe. And we've been doing that all by donations for 25 years. And that is a huge part of my heart, is to let them know that they're not forgotten and that they are thought of and prayed for each and every day from the folks back home across that big old pond.
It's lovely. Kim, what's in
Outside
a
of
care package? I want to know what would be a typical care package. Is there a typical one?
Yes, and we do them every month, and we always say beforehand, before we pack, we pray. So we put in prayer, and then we pack everything the way that you would want to receive it if you were far from home. And a lot of it is, magazines, snacks, hard candy, cookies, um, tuna packs, crackers. Beef jerky is a big one. Beef jerky, Skittles, and Starburst seem to be like a lot of things that they ask for. And one
Really?
pound jars of peanut butter and Pop Top fruit, in the tin cans. So it's
Yep.
something that they can easily carry in their packs, because those are 70 plus pounds at times if they're out.
Yeah.
And so something that they can easily carry with them. And we put in personal hygiene items and fun little things too. So.
Bravo. Thank you, Kim. Thank you for your work. Now I'm the one who's crying. Never make the host cry. Kim, you're a host, you understand, but
I do
you
understand.
you
Yes.
got to me with that. Thank you. Thank you. And welcome. Nice to have you here. Trevor Harrison, talk to us. Anything else you want us to know before we go to our opening quotes? What you got, Trevor? Welcome.
Yeah. Well, I think the one thing that maybe listeners would like to know, so this is in some sense a new career for me. I actually have retired in the last couple of years from my role as a professor in sociology, and I still actually do a lot of commentary. I get phoned by media all the time, but I always had a real interest in doing kind of creative writing, going back to when I was a teenager and in my 20s. And so in retirement, I have now started to explore that again. I'm writing poetry, I'm writing short stories. And this particular book that I just brought out is actually a collection of stories about my travels when I was younger. Of course, the horrible jobs you have when you're in your teens and 20s. And the other thing is, though, I have another book coming out in 2 or 3 months here. It's actually called Safarnameh, which is actually an Iranian, a Persian term. And it's about my travels as a young man across the Middle East on what was called the Hippie Trail, going backpacking from Turkey on to Afghanistan when you could travel there, and India and places in between. So that's another book coming out, and retirement's actually allowing me to explore other parts of myself, and I think that's what writers like to do. Is there's always a part of you that you want to get down to exploring, dealing with.
Thank you. I heard that Canadian accent. You know the word that tells me where you're from? Out.
A boot.
Out, a boot. Yes, the U-T. With your permission, all of you, thank you all for filling in the gaps. It's just lovely to have you here. I did belong, and I'm going to go back, belong to a poetry group at writersdigest.com. And we were getting prompts every Wednesday morning. But in the months the 30-day months, April and November, it was the PAD, the Poem a Day Challenge. And I was writing 3 to 10 poems every day for a month, solid. And I did this for 2 years. And one of my poems, I liked all different formats, but I want to read this one to you, and then we'll go to the quotes. This was an acrostic, and the prompt was night shift. So the lines start NIGHT SHIFT. You won't see them exactly. You know what? I can put this on, let me put it on a screen here. Let me do a share, and I think you'll enjoy it even more if you see it. If you don't see too much else on my screen here. Here we go. Okay, so night shift. Never quite really at rest. It's the life of a creative. Going, gripping, gyrating, growling, groaning, growing. Highs and lows flowing on a mental Mobius strip. The days are the nights are the days again, shifting off and on, into and out of gear, hoping for unique brilliance even once. It's a calling, command, curse, roller coaster. Finding eureka, euphoria amid frustration and fears. Thus is the life of the creative.
Awesome.
What'd you think?
That's
Nice.
cool.
Thank
Liked
you.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna today I'm dedicating that to the three of you because that's what you do. You find ways to create, and that's why you're here because we're talking about our creativity. And we often find that when somebody is talking about something unique, how they write or where they write or what they think about or where their ideas, inspiration, muses come from, we find that it hits a chord in us and it becomes a common insight, a common experience that we didn't know other people shared. So let's go to the opening quotes. I've asked each of you to please pick a fictional quote from a movie or a TV show or a song lyric, and you're going to explain very briefly. Let's keep this to about 2 minutes each. What does it have to do with your own creativity? James, you're up first. And James picked a quote from The Fourth Doctor, played by Tom Baker. Doctor Who, British sci-fi TV series, 1963 to 89. The episode was The Robots of Death, which aired first on January 29th, 1977. And apparently Baker, the actor Tom Baker, played the lead character for 7 consecutive seasons, the longest of any actor, and considered one of the most iconic incarnations, I have to be careful with that word, of the Kim knew where I was going, of the character. Okay, so here's the quote. You know, the very powerful and the very stupid have one thing in common. They don't alter their view to fit the facts. They alter the facts to fit their views, which can be very uncomfortable if you happen to be one of the facts that need altering. Oh my, James, no politics, but go ahead. What does this have to do with your creativity? Did I catch you
Well,
there?
you did sort of catch me there. I mean, I am thinking a lot about that these days, but
Mm-hmm.
it resonates throughout history. I'm also thinking about if everybody's seen the TV series Chernobyl, which
Mm.
is, it can be quite a grim sort of retelling uh, of the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. And one of the things that I think resonates there is at one point I just sort of shouted at the screen, "You can't Soviet your way out of a nuclear catastrophe," because so many people were saying, "No, this is not possible. This goes against, you know, what is politically true." And and it's sort of seen the mistake is seeing this as strictly a communist or Soviet thing. I think anytime that politics trumps expertise, you are opening yourself for disaster. And
How does this relate to your own creativity and what you write, James? That's what we're
well,
interested in.
I would say, this is one of the you want a villain. That's what that's sort of one of the things that put would be at the heart of the villain, that their their own sense of what they want is so strong it trumps facts.
Mm.
And that's, as soon as you do that, you've got yourself, I think, a very strong character that the hero would have to oppose, or it's something that the hero himself has to watch out for. I mean, there's plenty of opportunities to write there, and well, but I mostly did this to also just quote Doctor Who because that television series was formative. I've been watching it since I was 6 back in
Hmm.
1978. It's back again and cool now, like
Yeah.
it was. But and it's from that I became a writer because
Ah.
I started writing by writing Doctor Who fan fiction, and that's the best way. many ways, in some ways, to sort of get yourself into actually writing. Write for something that you love doing, love watching, and then that gives you the practice you need to eventually expand and write professionally.
Thank you. I have a good friend who's a regular on my Technology Revolution show I do under another name, and she's a huge Doctor Who fan. And whenever she has to come up with a quote, she finally, after 3 years, said, "Well, my name is Bonnie. You know that, my other name." And she said, "Bonnie told me no more Doctor Who quotes. I don't know what else to do." It was like, "All right, Mary, enough is enough here already. I don't even need to watch the show now." Anyway, thank you, James. Let's go to Kim. Let me look at your quote here. Oh, I'm not going to sing this. Do you want to sing this one, Kim? Do you sing it all?
I honestly don't remember what quote I said.
Oh, okay. All right. It's from, I'll tell you, it's from the song You've Got a Friend, written by Carole King, but you quoted it as coming from James Taylor, and I'll tell you why. It was first recorded by Carole King, and on her second studio album, Tapestry, I think I still have Tapestry, the LP, the wax. It was another well-known version by James Taylor, appeared on his album Mudslide Slim and the Blue Horizon. I think Trevor is agreeing with me on this. And
Yep.
it was released the same year as a single. It #1 on the Billboard Top 100 and #4 on the UK singles chart. Listen to this. The two versions, Kim, were recorded simultaneously in 1971, and they even shared musicians. How about that?
That's cool.
His version was inducted into the 2001 Grammy Hall of Fame. Hers was the next year in 2002. Okay. He won the Grammy for Best Male Pop Vocal Performance, and she won Song of the Year at the 1972 14th Annual Grammy Awards. Covers have been done by everybody: Dusty Springfield, Michael Jackson, Anne Murray, Donny Hathaway, and dozens of others. I thought you'd get a kick out of that. Here's the line, of course, and anybody here want to sing it? James, do you have a good singing voice? I don't think so. Trevor, don't be shy. Okay,
Give us a line and maybe we'll
when
try
you're
it.
when you're down and troubled and you need a helping hand
You need a helping hand. There you go.
nothing is
Nothing's
going right.
going your way.
There you go.
Yeah.
Da,
Pretty
da, da,
good.
da, da,
Almost a
da.
kind of Carole King tune to there too, Kim.
Beautiful, Kim. So
I
Kim,
love that.
what does this have to do with your creativity? Love the song. Thank you for the lyrics. Go ahead.
I think a lot of my creativity came from trials, really hard things that I went through, and not realizing that there were people out there that were noticing and they were ready with a helping hand. But I had to open my heart to see it. And I think that song resonates so strong with me. And then it also resonates a lot with how I write and what I write. I write with a lot of emotion. I get very emotional. My latest book, Nuggets of Hope, Cultivate Kindness, is all about, it doesn't cost a dime to be kind. And sometimes when you're soaking or you're just swirling in your own muck or the own mess that's in your head. I mean, I live with PTSD, and sometimes it gets a little loud, with like all this stuff and nightmares and flashbacks and things
Hmm.
like that. So sometimes that can get loud. And it took a long time for me to realize that, as Mr. Rogers said, here's another quote: always look for the helpers.
Mm-hmm.
Look for the helpers.
Yes, and his
And
parents told him that. You know that? That's a quote from his
yes, yeah,
family.
and
Yes.
he's actually from Pittsburgh, which is just an hour and a half north or south of me. So
Fred
that's kind of
Rogers.
cool. But
Very cool.
yeah, look for the helpers. And those folks, those helpers are the ones who saw me. And since that time, that opened up my heart and also took some of that blinders off, because when you're in the darkness, it's pretty hard to see the light. And they were my sparks of light. They were the ones like, lighten the lighters up, old time lighters. Kind of have to flick with, Zippo. They were my Zippo lighters, They were the ones providing that little light for me and
Yep.
saying, come on back out here, Kim.
You
There's
got it.
life and light, and don't let your light go out. And since then, which is years and years ago, I want to be that light for others.
Nice.
And so that's kind of where a lot of my thought process and stories come from, because I gravitate towards those really heartfelt,
Mm-hmm.
tug at you and
Yep.
sometimes crush you kind of stories,
Don't make the host cry, Kim.
you know. But those stories need to be told, because
Yeah.
otherwise history will keep on making the same mistakes.
Well, that's also that's the compassion. That's the ability for us to share our experiences, right? That's humanity. That's what we're supposed to be sharing and talking about.
Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful line. Isn't it interesting that such iconic singers, James Taylor and Carole King, both recorded the song, both wanted it, shared musicians, did it the same year, both got into the Hall of Fame, both charted, both made the top charts. I haven't read a story like that in a long time about a song. You just, oh, he covered this and she, this is more than just a cover. This is almost a, I'll record in studio A, you record in studio B. I'll send the sax player over when we're done. I'd like to see that studio session. Thank you, Kim, very much. Trevor, what does the W stand for? I have that in my notes. Do you have a W in your name?
I do. Wesley.
Ooh,
Good old kind of Protestant Scottish
is
name.
that
Yes.
Westley, the whole thing?
Wesley.
Oh, no
Wesley.
T. Okay, thank you very much. Well, you have sent us a quote from another song, 1966 song, performed by Buffalo Springfield, written by Stephen Sills, and Kim knows. And the title was added after the song was written, and the title is not in the lyrics, which is very unusual. The song is For What It's Worth, okay? And the other name we know it by is Stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody knows what's going round. We know the song. It was recorded as a let's see, December 5th, 1966, as a single, and it peaked at number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the next spring. Its association with the Vietnam War is a popular misconception. It was not about the war. It's about young people clashing with police during the counterculture era, which probably to me says it's part and parcel of the same thing, but that's the way they wanted to define it on Wikipedia. It was later added to the March 67 second pressing of their first album, Buffalo Springfield. And here's the line: There's something happening here. What it is ain't
Ain't
exactly
exactly clear.
clear. There we go. Trevor, what does this have to do with your creativity? Share, please.
Well, as I said, I have a sort of former and ongoing life as a political sociologist, actually. So,
Mm.
but growing up in Canada at that time, I was, too young to be a participant. I was living in Canada anyway. But like a lot of people around the world, were very moved and mobilized by what was going on at that time, not just in the States, but elsewhere. And so I think that kind of stimulated my initial interest in not just politics, but also travel. It was kind of a time where you thought about, there are a lot of people out there and there's a lot of things happening, and how do I understand that? So my stimulus to travel, and then my writing about travel afterwards, both as an academic, but also as a non-academic, was kind of stimulated by that time. So I thought that song probably is as good as any, is kind of emblematic of that period. And yeah, so it is kind of a formative kind of thing, much like, I guess, Carole King and so many other songs are the songs of our lives, right?
Absolutely. Very interesting. Thank you so much, each of you, all of you, for the interesting quotes. I appreciate that. Let's go to your creativity statements. I'm going to pick one from each of you to start. I will read it. You don't have to go find it. Don't worry, Kim. I know you don't remember what you sent me. It was a while ago. It's okay. James, I'm looking at your statement number 3. I really like this one. James says, everybody listen up. People sometimes take long walks to spark creativity. James talking, I love trains and taking public transit, which is like a long walk with assistance. When I drive, I almost think about what I'm writing, but with public transit, I can act on those thoughts immediately without putting myself and those around me in danger, meaning he's driving and how can he write? James, this is very, very interesting. I've had guests who say they write when they're in a coffee shop and they like to people watch and they're at Starbucks or somewhere else. They say, oh, look, wonder what that conversation is. And look at the way they're interacting. But I've never heard anybody say, I like to think about it when I'm on public transit. So James, can you fill that one in for us, please?
Well, yeah, just taking the time to just get out and seeing things move around. Just you actually do a lot of your writing without actually writing, I think. When I'm driving, I have things like I call them soundtrack albums, which are just songs that I've gathered that allow me to think about a book that I'm currently writing. And I'm not, I have chance to sort of it just allows me to sit and think about uh, uh, any sort of issue that's happening with that story or plot line or and just you put me in the right headspace.
Mhm.
Of course, the big drawback, as you say, is if you're driving, I can't exactly pull out my computer and go tap 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 tap.
We hope not.
That would be bad.
Yeah.
But I've always also I always love trains. In that respect, I'm very much a like the kid who never grew up, and and I grew up in Toronto, which has a very good public transit system. So I didn't actually need to learn how to drive until I was 23. I could access. I apologize for the dings here. I can't seem to shut off my notes. My
That's okay. We're not hearing it. We're not hearing it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad to
Go
hear
ahead.
that.
Go ahead.
And I like to. It gives me a chance to explore the city, and I think when you see new places, it sometimes sort of shakes things out of you in your head, and gives you a chance to sort of look at things in a different way, and might inspire something in your writing. Uh, and also, I mean, I do also do the coffee shop thing because it's like, okay, I'm here, I've paid, I've actually committed money to this. I got to do something or else.
And you bring your laptop with you or your tablet and you start writing right there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. When you're on the train, on the public transit, on the train,
Yep.
whatever, bus, whatever, do you observe conversations? Do you look at the people around you and say, "Oh, that would I can see she's mad at him. I think I got a character in there." Does that resonate with you too?
It can. I don't often do that. I tend to try and look at the scenery outside, or just um, I'm often on, it provides sort of the background noise for my own thoughts. So a lot of that work is just internal, but it is
Hmm.
giving me sort of the background noise that uh, allows me to sort of allows me. So it's not like I'm working in a void.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Very, very interesting. Anything resonate with Kim or Trevor in terms of thinking of characters and plots and on in places where you're seeing scenery, traveling, transporting somewhere? Kim or Trevor, anything come to you? Anything
Yeah,
similar?
the
Go
one
ahead.
thing that struck me about James' answer I could kind of identify with is I think there's a lot of distractions that interfere with actually creative, the creative process. And so for writers, I think the greatest thing you can have is it's not so much money, money's nice and an office is nice, but it's actually to have time and time alone with your thoughts, not being distracted. So when James talks about going to a coffee shop, actually this morning I went to the gym and I will just kind of walk or run around the track. And I always say my body is doing something good for myself, but it allows my brain to be off elsewhere. And so I do a lot of thinking about things when I'm off at the gym and hopefully not lifting a weight and hurting myself badly.
Or
But
somebody else.
that's kind of my time away. And but I could find it other ways too. For example, going outside and doing some cutting the grass or something like that. It's kind of a mindless thing, but because it's mindless, it allows my mind to actually be doing something. And I think I would be surprised if there aren't actually a lot of writers kind of look for that space to be able to be creative.
Thank you. I'm going to go to a statement from Kim, and I think we're on the track here. So, Kim says, I find that nature impacts all that I write. Nature is soothing and has the capacity to teach us many things if we only open our eyes to see and our hearts to listen. And you also say, I find that I like to have a quiet atmosphere when I write. If the idea or story is something that carries emotion, I find I fall into the words, and outside noise ends up being distracting. So can we combine those two? Is that okay with you, Kim?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Tell us more, please.
I found years ago that, and I'm often saying where I breathe best and most easy is when I'm outside. And I live in Pennsylvania, so we experience all four seasons, and some of them, they can come in roaring at you pretty harsh. But I'm out there anyway, so I'm like, well, bundle up, Buttercup. So I have the clothes that I need to get out there. But that's where I have found that for me, I feel most at ease. And that's where my creativity is sparked simply because, if you're out there just as the sun is rising, and I live in the country, so I have fields and woods around me, and you've got, the dew on the tips of like the hayfield, and the sun is coming up, and it's causing like this kind of a pink haze, but it's sparkling. So you've got pink thousands and thousands and thousands of pink diamonds across this amazing hayfield,
Mm.
and you can hear birds, and you can feel just the chill of the air touching your cheeks. And I find myself standing there in awe and wonder, and you're just like, wow, you know, big inhale, in with the good, out with the bad. Let's start this day. Let's be thankful for this day. What does this day have for me? And that's how I like to start it. I walk about 4.5, 5 miles a day with my dog, and most of it's outside.
I need a dog. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. But I have found though, as time went on, because that was also a very healing time for me years ago, and still at this time it can be when I need that the most. Nature seems to be what helps if I'm having a tough day, or I've got, for whatever reason, a swirl going on in my head. I get outside, and that seems to settle my anxiety down a bit. And I have found that over the years that my creativity just I just finished writing a book, my very first fiction book. I've never written fiction before. Didn't know
Ah.
what the heck I was doing. But Christmas Day, I was like, this story has to get out. And for about 7, 8 weeks, every day for about 4 hours, I wrote and just wrote the book. And it's done. But it all came from all these little stories that were in my head from being outside. So it's whimsical. It's got a little touch of magic in there. Um, we've got wood sprites and
Mm.
little fae
Mm.
folk, but they're all talking to my dog.
Oh,
And so
lovely.
they're talking. And
Lovely.
there's going to be a lot of, there's a lot of lessons that humans need to learn
How
if they
sweet.
just pay attention.
How sweet. Is it in ebook form? Can you send it to me or
It's
did you?
not done yet.
Okay, when it's done,
It's written, but it's in first draft.
I'd love to get a PDF of it when you're done, if you don't mind. I would
Oh,
love to
no,
see
no,
it.
yeah.
I
So yeah, that was that's something that's been in my head for about 6 years. And for whatever reason, Christmas Day, because my family, we did our Christmas the week prior. So it was just me and the dog on Christmas Day. And I was like, I am not going to sit here. And I'm
mm-hmm.
like, I was going to go see a movie at the theater, but there was nothing worth paying money for. So I was like, I'm going to start that book. And
Perfect.
so I
Perfect.
did.
Sometimes that's when it comes to us. Trevor, thank you, Kim. Trevor, I'm going to your statement number two. I found this very interesting. You say, I strive in my writing to find a space between excessive detail and excessive abstraction to provide the reader with a sense that they are observers of a real situation. That sounds complicated, Trevor. You want to take us through that? I'm going to get out of the sun in my face here. Go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, what I was getting at, I actually remember talking to a young man who also is wanting to be a writer a while back here, and I was saying, when for example, you're sitting in the coffee shop and you're observing people, and so you want your reader to believe that they too are sitting in that coffee shop. Well, you actually have to give enough details. It can't be so vague that it could be anything. It may not even be a coffee shop, but you have to give enough details to make the person believe they're there. At the same time, nobody wants to read something so detailed about all the menu items and everything else. That just becomes, tedious. So, how much detail to put in, how much to leave out, and at some point, the reader then, if you've brought them into that scene, they're going to fill in all the blanks anyway. They're going to fill in everything else about what a typical cafeteria or coffee shop looks like. So you don't need to do that, but you need enough that they actually sense that they're actually there for a while. And I think, I don't know if it was there, but one of the the comments, we talked about music before, and I've often related to the song by Bob Seger, where he talks about, I think it's Against the Wind or something. Anyway, he talks about what to leave in and what to leave out, and I think that's really the quest for the writer when you're doing editing, which is really the key to good writing, it seems
Yes.
to me. Is I need that there, or what do I need there? What more do I need to sell the reader on the fact that they actually are inhabiting a place that I'm describing? So
And is less is more
yeah,
is less.
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. James, you were nodding. Any thoughts on that?
Oh, well, I've been nodding to most everything. I especially liked Kim's, getting out in nature. I mean, that's so important, especially if you're in urban areas where nature can be hard to come by. My own area in Waterloo region, we're pushing a million people over the next few years. So it's
Wow.
important if you have those natural areas to protect them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We have time for one more statement. And James, there's something in here that was so compelling. I'm going to read it and we'll go around the table and see what Kim and Trevor say. James says, I need to create. It's its own form of sustenance. Without it, I go hungry. That's powerful,
Mm.
James Bow. So could you just take a minute or two and we'll see what Kim and Trevor think about that? Go ahead, James.
Absolutely, I think if I I just go by. I've always wanted to write, and but I didn't realize that I wanted to be a writer until it was in my 30s. I always saw it as a hobby or something, and I tried to buckle down and find a real job as a urban planner to school, taking the School of Urban and Regional Planning at the University of Waterloo. I graduated during a recession, fell into the tech sector doing soulless jobs like database management and stuff like that, admin assistant work, just finding the things to pay the bills. And while I managed to pay the bills, it was still, this was soul crushing work and it wasn't making me happy. Um, it uh, it took me a little while to realize that what I liked most about the jobs that I did were anything that involved any sort of creativity, any sort of writing or any sort of production. Um, and once I made that leap, once I started to move away from just writing fan fiction for fun to trying to create my own universes and seeing if I could get it published, something just flipped in me. And
Mm,
I'm pleased that I had the drive to keep on going, to get published, to do things like nonfiction books for children, and to make a career out of that, and eventually get into communications. And yeah, where I am now versus where I was in my late 20s, I think I'm a lot happier, even if the paying the bills can be a little bit difficult sometimes. Uh, but I mean, there are financial things that you pay off, and there's
sure.
also things in your soul that you need to.
Spiritual and soul. Thank you. I want to get a quick comment. We have 10 minutes left, but we have a lot to cover. Kim, any thoughts about what James shared about the sustenance of the creativity? How does that impact you?
I agree with that. I was just having a conversation with my mom last night, and she said, I don't know where your creativity comes from. It certainly didn't come from me. And because she doesn't understand me. And I'm the only one in my family who has, and I too, it was my mid 30s, which I found interesting, James. I was sitting here nodding when you said that. My mid 30s is when I started writing, and that bug, that bug kind of bit me. And then I realized, wow, this creativity's been in there for a long time. And now I don't know what I would do without it. So I
Yes.
did resonate with that statement. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. That was awesome.
Yes. Glad I picked that because I thought it would spark, would ping with all of you. Trevor, what do you think about that need?
Well, I think for me, the just as for as my colleagues say here, that it's an internal drive, and I think that it goes beyond any particular praise or money out of it. You just have to do it. sometimes drives my wife crazy that suddenly I disappear into the study here to have to write something. Um, and sometimes when I'm really stimulated by some idea, I do literally have to. So I'm at the gym and I have this idea and I get back and I have to rush into the study to put it down because I don't want to lose it.
Hmm.
Well, that's I think the kind of imperative that you're faced with. But when I was in my teens, I was already writing all kinds of stuff. It was probably really bad poetry and bad plays, but I was still doing it. And so the interesting thing is your life takes a little different twists, but there's always that impulse to want to do it, right? And so for a time I ended up doing other things, but eventually I always came back. And I used to have a very simple typewriter that I took with me when I was traveling around at different jobs, and I would lay it out in the hotel and it would be on the table and I would be pounding away on things and then get back to my regular job again. So it's always there, and it's like I have to go back to it. And now, fortunately, at this point in my life, I have a little bit more time to spend doing it. Although I have to say, James, I identified with something James said earlier too about finding time to do it. I'm amazed at writers who say they get up at 6 in the morning and will write for 3, 4 hours. I can't do that. Like I go off doing something else and then I come back and say, now I'm going to write. So, but we all
Thank
have
you.
our own style.
Yeah.
Well, I'll share with the three of you that one day, about 10 years ago, I decided I wanted to write a romantic comedy play, and I had no idea how to do it. So I Googled Playwriting 101 and I found a template, and it told me how to set up the scene, the characters, the opening, the closing, the typeface to use, the spacing, the letting, everything, how to segment it, how to write the different acts. And I copied it into a Word document. And I wrote for 3 nights. I was working full-time job. I wrote from 1 in the morning till 4 in the morning for 3 nights, and the play was done. The characters told me what they wanted to say. I
Right.
didn't make anything up. They talked to me. I was channeling. It was incredible experience. I've written 2 more plays since that, but I was hosting my own cable TV show at that point on Long Island, and I knew people in community theater, and I contacted some of them. One was a reporter. He still is for a Newsday newspaper. And I said, Dan, do you think you could get me some people from the community theater group? They're doing plays in different small theaters and churches all over. Could you bring, I said, I won't make it, you won't have to memorize anything. We'll have teleprompters hidden in front of all of you so that you can just do a nice read, but it will be on green screen. And the play was called Hail, Hail. So we produced it, and I learned to be a director. I learned to be a casting agent. I learned to be a coach. And there were a couple of more actors who wanted to do it. So we did 2 versions. And I had the woman who played the female wear a wig of a different color, Kim, for the second one. So people thought, oh, she looks familiar. Anyway, it was so much fun. But I literally wrote, and I was holding something called a cold reading salon, high level word, in a community I was living in Durham, North Carolina. And I said to the people, I said, I want to start this group, this club. 20 people signed up. I printed out some Roald Dahl available free, some short stories, some monologues, some character scenes, and I printed them out in paper and I put them on a table and I said, everybody come up and look, everything has a title and it has how many people are in the scene and whether it's a monologue, whether it's a dialogue, if it's funny, if it's serious, pick one. Take 5 minutes and just look it over. And then the first person to raise their hand gets to go first. Well, I took a scene from one of my plays and put it on the table, and somebody picked it. They got up and they read it. This was a no judge. This was a judgment-free zone. You can tell. Somebody read it, and I said, "Damn, that's really good writing." And I'm sitting there laughing my heart out. And I said, "Oh, shit." I said, that's my play. It was an experience of being on the other side, being in the audience of my writing, and it was a thrill. It was a real thrill. I
Mm.
can send you all a link to my Vimeo channel if you want to see the plays. They're just a lot of fun. I do have a quote here from Rapunzel, voiced by Mandy Moore, Entangled, and we don't have much time left, from the 3D computer animated musical adventure fantasy comedy film. My God, that's a lot of genres. Venture outside your comfort zone. The rewards are worth it. So I want to do a couple things in music events. I think you'll all appreciate that. In 1786, on this day in history, Wolf Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart completed Piano Concerto number 24 in C minor. Okay. Well, Beethoven heard the piece in a rehearsal and he said, "We shall never be able to do anything like that." Somebody recorded that. I don't know who. I absolutely don't know who. On this day in 1958, Elvis went to the Memphis Draft Board and entered the U.S. Army. My goodness gracious. On this day, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards in 1962 did their first paid gig, and their group was called Little Boy Blue and the Blue Boys at a club in Ealing, England. On this day in, let's see, on this day in blah, 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 blah. Let me find the best work here. Okay, on this day in 2001, Madonna had been dubbed the worst actress of the century in 2000, and she landed her 5th Razzie for her role in The Next Best Thing at the 21st Golden Raspberry Awards as Abby Reynolds. And let's see, one more, blah, blah, blah. Okay, celebrities. Mary Berry is 90 today. Anybody know who she is? Everybody heard of the Great British Baking Show on TV? Yeah. Mary Berry. She has written 70 books, 70 food books, Kim, and Mary Berry's Kitchen Wisdom, and she hosts BBC Two, Mary Berry Cooks. She was ranked the second best dressed person over 50 by The Guardian in 2013. Go do the math. Tommy Hilfiger is 74 today. Jim Parsons, Sheldon Cooper on Big Bang Theory, is 52. Allison Hannigan, who was on How I Met Your Mother, and she also hosts for, who is it? The Penn and Teller, their Fool Us show. Allison Hannigan is 51. Peyton Manning, you all know who he is, 49. Jessica Chastain, the actress, is 48 today. Today is the birthday of Harry Houdini. I'm sure you've all heard of him. He lived to a ripe old 52 years old, iconic magician and escape artist whose most difficult stunt entailed escaping from handcuffs that took a locksmith 5 years to build, and today born also with Steve McQueen, the actor. He lived to 50, the anti-hero actor. Okay, here we go. YouTube, John Tron, Tron, 35 years old. You ready for this? He has 66 million views of a spoof ad he did for a product called Flex Tape in 2017. He also did a video on Steven Seagal in 2022. It has 9 million views. That's all I'm going to say. Happy birthday, John Tron, Jontron. On TikTok, it's for Mary, I guess, DeRegal, is 21. She has 8 million subscribers, Kim. And on Instagram, she has 2.8 million. She does lip sync videos and viral dance videos and lifestyle and beauty and travel content. And then another on YouTube, I found Yasmin Barbieri is 20, and she only has over 3 million followers, and also lip sync and modeling with her boyfriend. So I thought that was really cool. We're just about done here. Today is National Cheese Steak Day. If it was cheesecake, I'd be somewhere else. Chocolate Covered Raisin Day. National Cocktail Day. The first cocktail was mentioned in 1803 in a magazine called The Farmer's Cabinet. And today is National Each Person is a Person of Worth Day. Kim, I dedicate that to you. Today, March is National Noodle Month, peanut, celery, exotic winter fruits and leeks, frozen foods, berries and cherries, caffeine awareness, and of course, it's Mad for Plaid Month. We'll leave all that. I haven't, 1 minute. Here we go. Okay, we're going to close and you're going to stick around and talk to me for a little bit. So here we go. Life is short. Break the rules. Forgive quickly. Nah, never. Kiss slowly. That's the best. Love truly. Laugh uncontrollably. Everybody laugh with me. 1, 2, 3. Ah! Not bad. And never, ever regret anything that made you smile. Final words. Work like you don't need the money. Nobody else really cares. Right? Dance like no one's watching. When I taught disco in high heels on a Formica tabletop in a high school cafeteria in Eugene, Oregon, I said, build me a damn stage. Everybody watched. No, I never fell. Sing like nobody's listening and love like you've never been hurt. We all have. Let your heart regrow, regenerate, and love again. Money talks, chocolate sings, la. And last but not least, I stole this line from somebody years ago. Thank you for turning me on. Radio Red signing off. Let me go to my closing here. Let's play this. And here we go. Wait a minute. Wait. Okay, I got to go back to share. Let's go to advanced. Let's go to computer audio. Let's go to share. Kim knows how this works. And let me start it again. Here we go.
On Read My Lips Radio, producer and host, akaRadioRed, invites you to eavesdrop on her live, unscripted conversations with smart, savvy, creative people as she discovers what makes them tick, where they find their inspiration, when creativity first became their passion, and how their creative process can inspire the rest of us to think out of the box. Enjoy aka Radio Red's always lively, cool conversations with creatives. Oh, how those lips can talk.
Thank you very much to the voice who announces me and gets me started. And a thank you to my guest, Jordan. Thank you at Voice America Empowerment Channel. And goodbye to LinkedIn.